Everybody, how's everybody this morning? Um, I think we're all thrown off a little bit by the snow or lack thereof, and I'm glad to be here online with you guys. I'm Christina Eppink, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and I work with a company called Social Grace based in Arlington. And I'm very open during presentations, so I really like it when people participate, and so feel free to jump in at any time. I've got two screens, so I'm looking back and forth. I learned that for some reason, if I do it a certain way, there's closed captioning, which is distracting. So I'm gonna just have my whole presentation up, and please feel free to jump in. In fact, toward the end, we will have, I was gonna try to do a game. I don't know if it's gonna work as well online, but there, instead of a game, I'd like to try to have a little bit of a discussion at the end. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the growth mindset and empowering your child's growth mindset. Um, well, I sort of talked about who I am, but I'll go through that a little bit more. As I said, I'm a behavior analyst, and I've worked with children with various neurodiversities, especially autism, young children, elementary, high school, and I also have more recently been working with adults, which I really enjoy. Um, and this will be my 25th year in the field this year, and I started off in the schools and have worked doing in-home therapy, and now at Social Grace, I do more of a coaching style um, therapy, if you will. All right. So growth mindset, what is it and why does it matter? Carol Dweck was the person who sort of developed and came up with what a growth mindset is. And I'm going to read this quote because I think it's powerful. In a growth mindset, the hand you're dealt is just the starting point for development. This mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are the things you can cultivate through your efforts. So I think it beautifully states that, it's a way to describe the way one handles challenges and setbacks. So people who have a growth mindset believe that even if there's a struggle or a challenge, or they're less good at a certain skills, there are ways to get better, and their abilities aren't necessarily set in stone. And they have the belief that they can improve over time. And the opposite belief is a fixed mindset. I don't know if you've heard of that term before, but a fixed mindset is sort of the opposite of a growth mindset. And in this mindset, one might think that their skills are fixed and they won't be able to improve no matter how hard they try. And also, mindsets aren't set in stone. We might have a growth mindset about one thing in one moment, and a fixed mindset in another moment. I know me as a working adult, I have felt this way, where one day I feel like I can take something on, and the next day I just want to give up. And there are shifts, and ultimately, that continued growth mindset. It's okay if we don't have if we have a day where we don't have a full mindset. Um, I have a message that says somebody's unable to hear me. Is that the case anymore? Um, if you're not able to hear me, let me know. Um, okay. So let's get acquainted. This is, a part where we can share if you feel so inclined. And I don't know if you've all played Two Truths and a or Two Truths and a Lie, but this game is called Two Truths and a Growth Opportunity. And if you think of something, you're welcome to share, or if you want to write it down and share later, because I know it's hard to think on the spot, we can dig in and do that. So because it's my turn, my two truths and a growth opportunity are, can you hear me okay, Lincoln? Okay, thank you. So my two truths and a growth opportunity are: I wish I were born with confidence. I think I can become better with confidence if I practice. And how come they seem so confident and I don't? So anybody want to take a stab at which one is the growth opportunity? Does anybody want to give that a try? Sure, I'll repeat that. So if you've ever played the game Two Truths and a Lie, this is similar. It's just if I were, so I'm going to give you two truths about myself and one opportunity for growth. And it's just three statements. I wish I were born with confidence is one. I think I can become better with confidence if I practice is two. And how come they seem so confident and I don't? Okay, okay, so I'm getting um yes, so I'm getting some messages in the chat, and do feel free to voice if you'd like. Um but yes, I wish I were born with confidence is more of a fixed mindset statement. I think I can become better with confidence if I practiced is a growth mindset, and how come they seem so confident and I don't is a fixed mindset. And this is true. I not a natural at presenting. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it's something I've had to do over my career, and I have become better at it. And you might be able to detect that I'm not the best presenter out there, but I know that I compare myself to myself, and that's the growth mindset in this statement. Um, okay. All right. Okay. And I found this graphic online. It's not mine, but I really liked it. And I wanted to share that within these two mindsets are the word failure. And I think the growth mindset is really, in a lot of ways, how you look at failure. So in a growth mindset, you see failure as an opportunity to grow. For instance, because I'm not the most comfortable person at presenting, and I've made many failures, and I'll probably um, make some today, but I know I can learn from it. Failure on the fixed mindset side, failure is the limit of my abilities. And that would be like, well, it's not something I'm good at. I'm never going to be good at it. I'm never going to do it. So that's the difference. So if you have a child that you're working with, for instance, my daughter just started having an interest in ice skating. And she's not the best ice skater in the group. In fact, she's the oldest in the group, and she's also the one hanging on to the rail the most. But we, try to get her to understand that it's okay. You didn't, you weren't, let's not compare yourself to the other kids and everything. And it's okay to keep getting better and better. I also like in the growth mindset, the attitude of challenges help me grow. My effort determines my attitude and abilities versus I don't like to be challenged, or things like I can do it or I cannot. Um, all right, next slide. All right, so in the language paradigm, there might be some things you would want to avoid when you're talking to your child or even yourself, or, not just your children, but your peers or coworkers. Things like praising intelligence. I know that seems a little bit different. And, if you do this, it's not a bad thing. It's not, you know, um, you don't have to discount yourself, but praising intelligence, for instance, saying something like, you're smart, or, you're, um, well, I was about to praise an ability, but that's the next one. So if you're just saying you're smart and you aren't praising effort, there's really no growth. I mean, smart is just sort of a static thing. But if you praise something like, you really tried hard, and that's why you got a good grade. That's praising an action, an effort. Same, if you praise abilities, like you're a natural ice skater. Well, if somebody's a natural, then, again, it's sort of a static fixed thing. And it's, I think in the growth mindset, you're praising their effort. So you tried harder and you're getting better and better because you practiced. So that's something you might want to avoid too for the growth mindset. Comparing to others, again, with my daughter and her ice skating, if I were to compare her to others, and I'm sure she's comparing herself to others, um, it's she would probably give up more quickly. So avoiding comparing people with others. And it's a natural thing. I do it all the time. I compare myself with others all the time. But if I'm in a situation where I need to and want to grow, um, that makes it really difficult. For example, I started a new weightlifting class, and there are some people in that class who are amazing. And if I simply compared myself to others, I would probably want to go home and never come back. So I really make an effort to compare myself to myself and just say, I'm not good at this yet, or I'm not as where I want to be yet, but I will get there. Also, criticizing mistakes. I think, again, if you look back to the previous slide where failure is sort of that cornerstone of the growth mindset, then bring on the mistakes, bring on the failure, because you can't grow without them. Um, again, if you're a natural and you're not making mistakes, then you really can't grow at all. So making mistakes and having little failures can be really empowering once you sort of get used to that idea. And also self-criticism. So this is something that you'd want to avoid with your own children, or, if you're a teacher, criticizing yourself, like, oh, I'm terrible at that. Instead of saying something like, I'm terrible at that, you could say, oh, it's my goal to get better at that. I'm not great at weightlifting, but it's my goal to get better at it. And that's why I keep trying. Or maybe not even saying I'm not good at weightlifting, but I can't lift 25 pounds yet, but I can lift 20. And maybe in a few months, I can lift 25 pounds and get to my goal. All right. And so, opposite of things to avoid is what to promote. And so this is sort of just the opposite of what I was talking about a moment ago, but praising effort. I can tell you're trying really hard. Like my daughter and ice skating, every week she holds on to the rail less and less. And I even praise her for falling. Like, you fell and you got up, and that helps her with her confidence in keeping it up and wanting to come back to ice skating. And providing meaningful feedback. So instead of saying, good job, you're a natural, that specific feedback can really help. I mean, I'm a behavior analyst, so it's sort of like the consequence, the antecedent is the desire, the behavior, you have the behavior itself, and the consequence is that specific feedback. You are getting better because you put in the effort, you put in the time, you put in the practice. Also, one thing I think that's important is validating feelings. And I have seen this before with myself. I've done this before, where a child might say, I am bad at that. And instead of invalidating their feelings and stating something like, oh, don't say that. You're a great ice skater. It might be better to listen and show that their feelings matter, and it's okay for them to feel that way, but just take a spin with it. So, maybe you're not as good at ice skating as you want to be yet. So that word yet can really be empowering in terms of, it's like there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm not good at this yet is a way to sort of to model and also validate the feelings at the same time. Modeling how to learn from mistakes. Kids love it when their parents or teachers make mistakes. And because I think we always want to be perfect in front of our kids and our students. And I think if you can own up to your mistakes, it makes you human, and they learn from you. They learn if you keep trying and not give up, then it's the same for them. And it can really get kids, I think, are such good imitators. I mean, it is the first skill we learn as babies is to imitate. And throughout our lives, I mean, even as an adult, I still imitate things that my parents do, in raising kids and, all sorts of things. So if you just be a role model and show that you can make mistakes and recover from it and handle it and grow from it, then they can too. Also, being open to failure, which is the same thing. We've talked about that already, but just being open to like, oops, I did make a mistake, and that's just part of it. Sometimes I don't know why, but throughout the years, many of my clients have loved to play chess, and I love to play chess. And um, sometimes I use it sort of as a reward or even a part of a social skills lesson, and just making mistakes and being open to that, and it sort of makes losing the game. I'm reading somebody's note. Um, let's see, is it a negative response? I'm going to read out loud what a question was just because it helps me process it better. Is it a negative response to call a mistake silly? Like, oh, Miss Annie made a mistake. So silly. What's the right way? Or does it encourage a negative connotation? I think that would depend on the context. So I'll just sort of repeat that. So say you're playing a game or doing an activity, and you're like, oh, Miss Christina made a mistake. That's so silly. What's the right way to do it? And I think that can go either way. Might depend on the context. I think if I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example, but I think, in a fun, light, context with levity, it's perfectly okay to say something like that. It might be if you're really trying to teach a skill that a child doesn't want to do, it might be better to say something like, "Oh, I made a mistake. What can I'm going to try it this way next time. What do you think I should do? Maybe you can help me make a better I don't know, better choice or better decision, or what can I choose to make this go better for me next time?" So it's perfectly okay to include the child in the decision-making process. And I think it really depends, the silliness depends on the situation. I don't know if that's helpful. You might be thinking of a specific situation. Okay, good. All right. Now, this is just a list of simple words that start with C to help you remember. It's nothing is set in stone here. However, I think just talking about these words, and they all happen to start with C, can, help it sink in it sinks in my brain more. I think I've used the word confidence and coping even a couple of times already. So I think enhancing resilience is pretty much the same thing as growth mindset. In fact, I don't think I've used the word resilience yet, which is such a big part of it. So, growth mindset equals being resilient to difficult things. So if you practice this over time, competence can increase. So I go back to my daughter's ice skating all the time. Competence is she is getting more competent. She is not the most competent in the class, but she is more competent than herself. And same as confidence. She's not the most confident in her class, but she is more confident than she was on day one. And connection in terms of social skills, that can be, social skills are really hard for some people. And I think they're hard for everybody in some context. And it can help build connection. And I think sort of connection and character are sort of built in or they're connected with each other. Um, it can help the child give more contributions to a project, if they don't feel if they're prepared in when they're younger with a growth mindset. They'll be more apt to contribute to projects and activities. Coping is certainly, that sort of goes hand in hand with resilience. If you can handle things, then it goes much better. I think one of the biggest things is it gives you a sense of control. So uh, my daughter, again, the ice skating example, and I have tried to ice skate with her, and it is really hard at this age. But even I'm getting better at ice skating because I'm trying with her, and I definitely have a better sense of control because I'm practicing. And the more that you have, if you do fall and fail, it's not as big of a deal. Self-compassion, I think that's a huge part of it. Just being okay with making those mistakes and having those failures, and also leading with curiosity. I don't know if any of you watch the show Ted Lasso. It's really funny, but he says something like, "Lead with curiosity, not judgment." And so I think it limits the judginess of your own self or others. Um, let's see. Um, Somebody's asking a question about what is the best way to respond to the students who attach their achievements to grades in an environment where a lot of praise is put on grades. I have actually a scenario close to that in a few slides. In fact, I think it's the next slide. So is there a line in knowing what a student's limit is and how they can grow? That's an interesting question. Let me see if that comes up in the next slide. And I might come back to it toward the end just to keep the flow going. So here's some scenarios that might address one of those questions. And again, this is another opportunity where people can jump in. In a few slides, I do have a game where I will put you into breakout rooms and we can discuss things amongst ourselves and share out if we feel comfortable. But please do feel free to share if you'd like to. All right, so some scenarios here for cultivating the growth mindset at home. Your child's soccer team lost their third game in a row. And I was wondering if anybody had any ideas on how to respond to this if your child is upset or disappointed.
Do you want us to reply in the chat or vocally?
Vocally, if possible, that'd be great.
I would set personal goals for the individual child. Like, how many times did you stop on the field to take a break? Like, how long could you keep running without without stopping? Like, how quickly did you get to the ball? And I would, be their tracker to help them. Like, I saw you do this positive thing 4 times, and last game you only did it 3. And so you made like a whatever percentage math improvement
Right. Right.
game. I'm
Yeah.
getting math, sorry. So yeah, it's things like that. And the social emotional, did you cheer on your friends when they made a goal? Like, hey, Cindy made that assist over there, and I heard you shouting her name all the way across the field. You were such a good supporter of your friends, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Finding positive things to support in them.
I really like both of those. And the first one, what I liked about what you said is that there's a fancy behavioral term, but you operationalize the goal, meaning you gave a specific goal that it's measurable. So I can't remember what you said, like stopped on the field or something, but it was very specific. It's something that the child knows exactly. There's nothing ambiguous about it. So I think that's great when you can be specific about what behavior we're looking at improving. So like with my daughter on her ice skates, I operationalized it by saying, if we can do 50 steps, we'll get to come back to ice skating for another practice session. Because she, even though it's hard for her, she really loves to go, and that's sort of her reward. And then it's also becoming an internal reward, because I think that's sort of, where we're at with kids, is that rewards and, going forward is not internalized yet. And it becomes more internalized. And so that's how you can start to internalize it. And I also like what you said about the social goals, because I think that, all around is good for that compassion piece. So thank you, Annie. All right. Your child is struggling with math homework. Any ideas for this one? Oh, go ahead, Jean.
I would respond by saying, you're doing a great job at asking for help. Struggling, the fact that you're struggling is making your brain grow because you have lots of questions, and you're persevering through it.
Great. I love the word persevering. It's one of my favorite words, and it has a lot to do with growth mindset. So I think, again, that's a great example of it. So thank you. And thank you guys for sharing. I really appreciate it. All right. Scenario 3, your child got a D+ on a test even after studying. And this may have something to do with a question that was asked previously. I just wanted to share a little story while you guys might be thinking of an answer, but um, sorry, this is the second TV show reference, but as a child of the 80s, I watched the show Family Matters with Urkel. I don't know if you remember that one, but I remember the character Laura, who was a really good student, got like a B+ on her test, and she was just really upset, and her mom happened to be baking cookies at the time, and one of the cookies on the trays was burned. She said, Laura, I think I'm going to throw all these cookies away because one of them's burnt. And she started to throw the cookies in the trash. And Laura was like, no, why are you doing that? There's only one cookie in there that is burnt. All the rest of them are okay. And so the mom used that example with Laura, you like, why throw your B+? I mean, we're talking about a D+ in this scenario, but um, there's no point in throwing it away. You just got to keep trying. So anyway, that was my fun example. I don't know if you wanted to add if anybody wanted to add anything. Oh, go ahead, Annie.
Well, I definitely feel for the person in the chat who shared, like, when there's so much emphasis placed on grades,
Mm-hmm.
because um like, we do have like a, you can't matriculate unless you reach a certain point. um I don't know if a D is passing or not, but like, and it would depend on the grade level. So like if it's a smaller child, like, hey bud, you worked so hard, like your brain was burning up taking that test, and you were using all of your brain power, and I saw you studying, and maybe the way that we were studying, maybe it didn't stick inside of our brain the way that we wanted it to, so we could bring it back for the test. What if we try to find a different way to study that could help our brain eat up all that information, and then you'll have it ready for you the next time you take a test. So like, and again, like working in special education, like if this is a frequent item, do you have to lean towards, getting um, official assistance in the classroom or anything? But if it's just the first time, or, if they're a younger grade, like making it a fun, let's use that amazing brain of yours to help our brain carry the things that it needs. Because sometimes there's so many things you need to remember that it's like carrying too much in your arms and you drop some, and then I don't have them for the test.
Right.
Well, let's find a way to carry them better,
Right.
or et cetera, et cetera. Like,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
kind
Yeah, thank you, Annie. I think, you're absolutely right. And I think you're right. A D plus isn't probably representative of unless it is a once in a while thing. And I know I was a fairly good student, but I did terribly on tests. I did all my homework and I managed to get, fairly good grades, but my tests were terrible and I felt awful about it. And my son, who has ADHD, really struggles. He's sort of the opposite. He does well with tests, but homework and everything is really hard. So it is difficult to have a growth mindset, especially living in an area and a time where there is so much emphasis put on grades and um, even your teachers give you pressure, other students give you pressure, and of course it's natural. And I don't think that pressure is always terrible because it might be somewhat motivating for people to improve. However, you do have some people who are genuinely trying, and I think what Annie said it beautifully is just you got to keep trying or find a different way to study. Find if you're doing something one way and it's not working, we have to find something else. And yes, ADHD club, she says. Let me go back to that question. What is the best way to respond to students attach their achievements to to grades? Yes. And so I think it's okay to validate your child's feelings and just say, okay, grades are important. They matter when it comes to college applications and things like that, but so does trying. And like if they are trying their hardest, and if they aren't trying their hardest, I think it's okay to say, well, maybe you're not the best studier yet. Like Annie said, let's find different ways to study, or maybe we need to find a tutor to get better at something. So I think it's really more in terms of growth mindset and talking about that. It's more about the optimism level. um, Yes, I agree with the statement that was just put in the chat about the modality playing a factor. Um, and Sure, and challenge the delivery might be really difficult for that person. So just finding different ways that they can demonstrate their knowledge or their skill level would be great, as if in a school setting. Okay. I'm just looking at time, and I think I'm going to skip the last one just in the interest of time. And I'm wondering, um, are we stopping in 3 minutes for questions, or could because
You
I
have until 11 a.m., so it's completely your call if
okay.
you'd like this.
Okay. I'm thinking, why don't we go ahead and go into breakout rooms? We have about 18 people, I guess, and there's 18 questions, and I'm thinking, could we break into rooms and each group take 2 questions, and if they wanted to share the answer to one of them? So what we're going to do is it's just play a game based on these statements. What can you tell yourself or your child instead? So the first one being, I can't do that. What could you say instead? So I'm thinking we can go into breakout rooms and just each group take, can we do group 18 breakout rooms? Is that
Yeah, so we can do, for example, do group 5 rooms would be groups of 3 to 4.
okay? Yeah, let's just do that. And each room um, can take, I don't know, depending on how many rooms we have, we'll divide them up.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we'll have, right now I'm set for 5 rooms. So we'd have,
Okay. All right. So yeah, we can go ahead and do that. And just do they know which breakout room they're in?
it'll automatically assign them. So they'll just get randomly
Okay.
dropped into a room. And they'll be
Okay.
numbered for 5, and so everybody could take, say, 3 questions each.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll do that. So group uh, group 1 can take 1 through 3 and so on. Each group will take 3 questions.
Perfect. All
Thank
right.
you.
I'll create them in 5 minutes for this.
I think maybe 3 minutes.
Okay,
I don't
perfect.
think it'll be too long. Okay.
All right, here we go. Well, everybody will get an invitation to a breakout room on the screen. Click on that and you'll go into the room.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't have questions.
Oh
You
no.
broke us into the rooms. I don't have questions.
And her questions didn't stay on the screen? Oh no. So apologize, everybody. The slide display did not carry over into the breakout room as anticipated, so I know that you were looking at a blank screen. Sorry about that. Christina, I think you're
Sorry about that.
my apologies. It should have carried over and it didn't. So we can try it again or we can go back.
Okay, I think we can go on. This is an easy enough activity. I don't think my screen is sharing right now. Let me go back to that. Okay, so I apologize, you guys didn't have that information, but we'll just run through. I mean, our group quickly just talked about R3, and I'm just going to run through, so feel free to shout out something, and if you don't, I can give examples too. All right, so if your child says, I can't do that, is there an alternative we can give them?
We like adding yet to the end of the phrase. So I can't do that yet, but I can learn how to do that.
Yes, that's perfect. Was that Laura? I'm sorry.
Yes, hi.
Okay, no, that's great. That's a pretty good method to handle this list. So yes, for most of these, if yet is a really good way to do it. All right, I'm either good at something or I'm not.
What about saying I'm not good at this yet? I'm working towards it.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think you guys will recognize a pattern that this is not rocket science. It's just a simple shift in the way you think about things and the way you can help your child think about things. It's just like a different spin. So perfect. Thank you. All right. When people give me feedback, it feels like criticism.
I would say try to hear them as they're trying to help you. Maybe not the way that they're saying, maybe they don't know the way they're saying it is not how you want to hear it, but take the positive from what they're trying to give you.
Right.
And
okay.
work with that.
Right. And, you know, just sort of take it, not that feedback is failure, but I think they read it as that. And, you know, if they sort of lump failure, mistakes, and feedback all in one, and it's just they become used to it, it's not so bad, then, you know, it's easier to move from. So thank you. I'm just not good at math. Any ideas?
Again, I'm not good at math yet.
Perfect. Yep. I'm not good at math yet, or I can keep practicing. I'm going to keep trying. Perfect. Here's a number 6 is a little bit different. So let's try this one out. I'm already a good writer. I don't need to get any better.
Repetition will make you more comfortable at harder
Okay.
things.
Yeah, I think, that's also good. And if you're already, so if you're a good writer, that's sort of a static thing. There's no room for improvement. I mean, everybody can improve in anything. I did a similar presentation not too long ago, and one of the parents shared that he heard a story about Michael Jordan. And I guess, Michael Jordan's one of I don't know a lot about basketball, but I do know that, he's a household name, and he is pretty much the best basketball player ever. And I guess after he won some game, he missed like one shot, but they basically won the game and he dominated the game. And after the game, he was practicing on a basketball court. And somebody was like, Michael, why are you practicing? And he was like, well, I missed a shot and I just want to get better. And I think that's a real testament to here is the best or one of the best basketball players ever. If I were as good as him, I don't know if I would want to improve, but he apparently thought he could still do better. So the statement, I'm already a good writer, I don't need to do any better, just shows no room for growth. And I think some kids get complacent in this. It just shows a little bit of complacency versus growing. So
what crossed my mind was that, yeah, you're good, but you could be excellent. You could be, you could be really special.
Yeah, that too. I mean,
more work in.
why stop at good if you can get better? And it could. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. This one too, just working with my share of kids, I've heard this one before. Number 8, or I'm sorry, I skipped number 7, but I'm going to go to number 8 anyway. Other people's success makes me feel bad about myself.
Don't compare yourself to others. Do your best, be the best version of yourself.
Thank you. I like that. Yeah, it could sometimes, feel like a slap in the face sometimes if somebody does really well and you don't. And, I think we've all experienced that, but I think you're right. Just doing well for yourself. Thank you. Let's see. Let's do number 9. Successful people are lucky and have never experienced failure. I am sure that, all the people who are top in their job or, have experienced failure. Go ahead, Jean.
I would say everyone who is successful was not that person at one point.
Right. Yeah, you have to start somewhere. And it's so easy to get sucked into these words that tend to dominate us. So just helping your child or student change that mindset. Let's see. I'm going to just skip to number 11. I wish I was as good as baseball as you are. It's not fair. I think it's similar to the previous one, where number 9, where you're sort of looking at somebody else who's successful and it's not fair that you aren't. And I think everybody just learning that everybody does work hard and everybody gains skills at different rates. Like ice skating, again, the kids have been practicing the same amount of time, same amount of lessons, and they're improving at different rates, but they're still, each one is improving. Go ahead, Annie.
I would also take that as an opportunity for compassion and for like the building up of others as well as yourself, and the idea of, well, you're really good at this. How would you feel if I said that I didn't like that you were so good at that and it made me sad? Would you want me to be sad when you're so good at something?
Yeah.
So don't be sad when your friend is good at something. We want to be happy for them. Yay, you did a good job, friend.
Right. And, you know, learning how to praise them as a social skill as well. So yeah, just giving that example of how, you know, that'll teach empathy as well, turning that example onto them. Number 12 is similar to number 6, but it says, I don't need to practice my violin because I'm already good at it. Goes back to that Michael Jordan example. We could always get better, and we, like Dave said, we can be excellent at it, and that would be pretty cool. Okay, I think oh, sorry, time's escaping me. I'm gonna just move on, and I'm almost done. And so what can you do today? Simple practical strategies that can work for you. So creating a curiosity jar to connect with your child. I think uh, you know, like Ted Lasso says, be curious, not judgmental. You know, maybe instead of like if your child is down about their performance, and maybe it's like you write a little note and put it in a jar that says, maybe I can do it this way another time, and you know, give them a concrete example. Is like, I can take 50 steps or 50 ice skate steps next time. So just, you know, being curious about their abilities and how they can grow. Setting realistic goals with the family. You know, I think as a busy working mom, it's really easy to say, we need to eat better, we need to watch less TV, we need to, you know, but just setting goals and, you know, looking where we are and setting a attainable goal, and, you know, growing little by little instead of feeling bad where we have shortcomings. A growth mindset book club, just reading books together. There's so many books out there that can serve that purpose. Making positive post-it notes, you can put them on their fridge, on mirrors and lunch boxes, just about how proud you are of how they're trying, or, you know, I know you said you wanted to talk to so-and-so at lunch today. Now's your chance. You can create a reflection journal. And I think most of all is just modeling language in general, and, you know, especially when you make a mistake. So, all right. And that just leaves me with any questions, if you guys have any questions. And okay, I'm just looking at my chat to see if I missed anything. So if there are any questions, feel free. And you can either put them in the chat or verbal or vocalize them. And if not, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead, Jean.
Yeah. So just going back to my other
I'm having trouble hearing you, Jean.
question from earlier.
Oh, okay.
Here, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So
Oh, is there a line to knowing what students' limit is and where they can grow? Is that the question?
yeah, because I know part of working with students with disabilities is teaching students to understand their limit,
Right.
but also with that peace in mind of we want them to continue to grow their minds. I mean, we can't be perfect in everything, but we can always grow. Are there any suggestions or thoughts about that, knowing your limits, but having a growth mindset as well?
Sure. Yeah, and I think you know, just breaking it down for them, and sometimes, you know, the kids have this idea that they're going to become a famous rock star basketball player, when really maybe we'll just look at the next step. So instead of throwing the basketball from here, we're just going to throw it, you know, 1 foot back and 1 foot back and 1 foot back, or whatever it is. Like if they're reading at a certain level, read at this level. So just having them compare it to themselves. So make a goal that's comparable to their level right now and shooting for that goal. And I wouldn't necessarily, if they want to have a goal of being a basketball star, maybe just talking to them about, okay, well, we have to do this and this and this, and let's start here. And so to not discourage them necessarily, but they'll start to realize that they're achievable, attainable goals, I think, and that they can improve. Maybe they won't be the best, and maybe they'll be okay with that at some point. I don't know if that
Okay.
was a really quick answer.
So like thinking about it as like a step-by-step process.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, as somebody who's, I don't know, I've had big goals before, and it's really hard. I don't know, like if for my weightlifting class, if I really would love to be able to bench press a certain amount of weight, but I can't even think about that right now. I just need to go 5 pounds from where I am now. And, if I keep practicing, maybe I'll get to 150 pounds or whatever it is. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. And if you have any, let me just check the chat. I thought I saw something. Okay. Thank you so much, and enjoy your day.
Thank you, everybody. And again, we have a break now, and we'll be coming back to sessions at 1:30. Thank you, everybody.